Remembering Charles E. Merrill Jr. And I'd actually like to begin this by reading portions of a letter that I received this morning from Dr. Shem J. Ochuoto, who is the principal in the Kenya Diaspora Alliance, or KDA. This is titled Compliments for the 50th Anniversary of Educational Excellence. The Kenya Diaspora Alliance, or KDA, extends its warmest greetings to your esteemed office, the Merrill College staff, members of the Merrill Society, chaired by Mr. Peter Braun, and to students, alumni, and faculty. We celebrate the 50th anniversary of Merrill's founding and give thanks for the historic associations that have been enjoyed between Merrill and the African continent throughout this past half-century. The names of Dr. Noel Q. King, Dr. Philip Bell, former Merrill Provost and African Studies Association President, Dr. John A. Markham, Dr. A.B.K. Kasozi, and others who played important roles in establishing and maintaining the unique character of Merrill College will long live in our hearts and minds. In the coming years, we look forward to deepening these ties and to further enhancing our multifaceted friendships. We welcome the pursuit of equitable, two-way student and faculty exchanges between East African institutions and Merrill UCSC. We encourage the use of modern communications for the benefit of students, lecturers, researchers, and librarians on both sides of the Atlantic. We applaud Merrill's commitment to experiential education and invite students in the Focus on Africa program at Merrill College to visit Kenya this December. This is a letter from the Kenya Diaspora Association with Lori King and Mark Massoud. And I want to say that this is the house that Charles E. Merrill built. He was the ideal philanthropist. He provided funding to begin the curriculum of this college and to support this college. He thought ahead about the structures of support that would enable the college to continue and the curriculum to continue. And then he smiled benignly and stepped back and allowed the college to do what it was meant to do, which was sometimes actually to get in the way of his family enterprises, which you'll hear about in a moment. I just want to appreciate the vision of a man whose generosity is still helping run Merrill College. He died just a few months ago at a very advanced age, having spread munificence throughout the world, quite literally. He was a wonderful man, and we're fortunate to carry his name. I now want to introduce Marlene Trump, who's the campus provost and executive vice chancellor at UCSC. She's new to our campus and already a whirlwind of activity and development here at UCSC. She is especially focusing on strategic academic planning at the university to guide us into our next stages of teaching and research excellence. Please join me in welcoming Marlene Trump.
Campus. I walk into these committee meetings all over the university, and there's Elizabeth. She serves in so many capacities. She not only is the provost of Merrill College, she is a voice of reason and generosity and thoughtfulness all across the university. So thank you very much. Thank you, Elizabeth, for having me here. And good afternoon, everyone. Happy anniversary. It really is exciting to celebrate an anniversary, and what it does is it invites us to pause and think about the meaning of an event or of a person or of a place. Anniversaries help us think about how we have shaped who we are. And what's really exceptional about this college and this anniversary is the prescience of Charles E. Merrill Jr. and of the work that he did when he founded and established this college. This was a college that in a way that for a newcomer, I've been here now a year, but I understand when people have been here 15 years, they still say I'm a newcomer. So I'm getting used to that kind of timeline. I've been here almost a year now, but I'm so astounded by the foresight of the founders of this college. The ways in which they understood that a global consciousness was going to be so critical and so important in moving the nation forward. In the same way that when I was in high school and my father said to me, I want you to take a typing class. And I said, hey now, I don't want to end up in a typing pool somewhere. And my dad, and this was a long time ago, my friends, this is when computers were the size of this stage. My dad said, someday all work is going to be done on computers and you need to know how to do a keyboard. It was a kind of force, and I resisted taking that class because the only people who took the typing class in my high school were women who didn't expect to work. And so it was enormous faith that I had in my father's vision of a future I could not imagine. My son, who is 16 now, has had a cell phone virtually all of his reasoning life. So for him, carrying a computer in your hand is just a part of the way you interface with the world. My dad saw that when I was 15 or 14 years old. Charles Merrill and the founders of Merrill College saw 50 years ago what we needed to know to move forward, what we needed to understand to be a part of a social justice project for next generations. It really is profound to think about telling young people, you must know the world in order to make a difference in whatever world you inhabit. Even if your world is going to be right here, you must know the larger world around you. It's so important. It even seems more important today than ever before. In this particular political time and place, where I have a book that I've written on xenophobia, and it came out about 3 years ago. And about 2 years ago, perhaps because of certain events on the national political stage, that book suddenly skyrocketed in popularity because people were reading it trying to understand what's going on, that we suddenly had this dramatic rise in xenophobia. And it's places like this, it's places like Merrill College that are poised to talk back, to be reasoned and thoughtful, and to actually understand the complexities of these issues. When Charles Merrill thought his family to put some of his family's money in this then unnamed college, he was seeing the future. And this was unfolding at a time when there was opposition to the Vietnam War, there were racial tensions, political turmoil. This was a college that was forged out of fires, you've just heard. And we owe a debt of gratitude to Charles Merrill for holding his ground, for fighting for what he believed in, as so many of his graduates have done at this college for many years. He helped create a college that produced 50 years of leaders. People who weren't just content to study systems and understand them, but who wanted to make the world a better and more just place. It's no coincidence that Merrill has graduated 3 mayors of Santa Cruz, Don Lane, Chris Crone, and Cynthia Chase. That it has had 2 more affiliated faculty as mayors, Mike Rotkin and Tim Fitzmaurice. This college has also sent countless grads off to work in fields associated with public service, education, and social work, chief among them. This college offered one of the university's first field study programs, sending students all over the country and all over the world to study, to learn, to think differently. And Merrill has long had special relationships with the university's Chicanx, Latinx communities, hosting the Chicano Latino Research Center, LALS, cooperating with El Centro on internships, maintaining a relationship with Los Mexicas, and hosting events for the undocumented students. Merrill is a college that lived the values of this entire university, that helped shape the values of this university. This 50 years is something of which you all have right to be justly very proud, and of which I want to express great gratitude. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for having me here today.
I never had the good fortune to meet Charles Merrill. When I became provost, I wrote a letter to him, and I wanted to fill him in a little bit on what we were doing. And I sent him a picture of the Charles E. Merrill puppet. I think he liked it because a check came back in the mail. But I want us to hear now from somebody who did know Charles Merrill, John Isbister, the longtime provost. Actually, he wins the record for longest standing provost of all time at UC Santa Cruz. John was provost from 1985 until 1999 for 15 years. He's been an economist, or was an economist, here at UCSC for 36 years, from 1968, he was a founding faculty member, to 2006. More recently, he's been serving in administrative roles and now is back to being a teacher at Ryerson University in Toronto. And just on a personal note, I should say that I met John first through his wife, Roz Spafford. She and I were hired into the same position at the same time in the writing program. She kindly took me out to breakfast so that I would know her as we moved into the program in this official capacity together. And practically the first thing that she said to me was, "You need to apply to be a provost." And I said, "Well, first let me figure out where my office is." John is going to speak to us about his memories of Charles E. Merrill. Please welcome John Isbister.
Thanks. Quite as mobile as I was in 1968. So some of you remember 1968? That was a trick question. Remember Grace Slick of the Jefferson Airplane said, if you remember the 60s, you weren't there. So. Anyway, it was an extraordinary year. It was the year that we founded Merrill College. Martin Luther King was assassinated. The city's burned. Robert Kennedy was assassinated. The Democratic National Convention in Chicago. It was the height of the farm workers organizing meeting. Was a revolution. And in the midst of all that we were trying to found Merrill College. You were saying that the people who've been here 15 years feel like they're new. I've always felt like I was new here because I came in it was the first year of Merrill, but it was the fourth year of the campus. So the people who were founded, Cowell and Stevenson and Crown seemed like the old timers, and we were newcomers. But anyway, it's been 50 years. So I'd like to talk a little about Charles Merrill. Dean McHenry, the founding chancellor, he and Clark Kerr had the idea that the structure of UC Santa Cruz should be a collegiate structure, and sort of based on Oxford and Cambridge loosely. So that was the idea was to have the virtues of smallness together with the virtues of largeness, all in the same place. And one of his very highest priorities in starting up the college system was to fund the colleges, to find sponsors for the colleges, to find endowments for the colleges. And he devoted himself to that. I mean, he was a prodigious person. He devoted himself to a lot of things. But one of the things he devoted himself to was getting the colleges started off on a good foundation. So the Cowell Foundation, he kind of missed it with Stevenson. And didn't, and that's another story. But the Crown Zellerback Foundation and the Merrill, Porter, and so forth. And he found endowments for all the colleges up as long as he was chancellor up through College 7, which was Oaks College. Now, some of you may know this story better than I do. There's parts of it that I don't know. I don't know how long the relationship was between McHenry and Charles Merrill. So I know some parts of it, and some of you might fill in. But I know that the Merrill Foundation was a troubled foundation because the people who were in charge of it had very different priorities. Charles Merrill was on the left, and some of the other people were more on the right. The money came partly from the Merrill Lynch investment firm. It also came from the Safeway Safeway chain of groceries, and they had a hell of a time. When they made donations, they had to all agree, and they just had a very difficult time agreeing on anything. At least that was the story that we got. So they decided to terminate the fund and just spend all the money they had, just spend it in one fell swoop. And they agreed that they wouldn't require unanimity, that each of the, I think there were 4 people, I'm not sure of that, and they could each take a quarter of the fund and give it away, and the other people wouldn't stand in their way. So Charles Merrill got quite a bit of money to hand out, and he was able to do it because the other people didn't stand in his way. So he gave a considerable amount of money, we know, to the black universities in Atlanta, Spelman and Clark, and there's a whole group of them in Atlanta. And he funded Merrill College. Now, the money came from the Merrill Lynch investment company, but that's not who he was. He was an educator. And he was the founder and principal for decades of the Commonwealth School in Boston. It was called the Commonwealth School. This is on Commonwealth Avenue, great big street in Boston. So what was he trying to do at Merrill College? Well, I think what attracted him to Merrill College, what attracted him to Santa Cruz, was the idea that this was an innovative, experimental campus trying to do new things, not entirely sure where it was going, because that's the story we got about the Commonwealth School, that the Commonwealth School was an innovative school. And one of the reasons that we know something about the Commonwealth School is that one of its former students, John Fox, years later joined the faculty here. He was on the faculty in Latin American Studies for some years. He eventually left. And he spoke incredibly glowingly about his education at the Commonwealth School. It was so nurturing and interactive and innovative. And out there in the hallway, or in the next room over, you'll see a picture. And the people are not identified. There's a picture of me on one side, this is from 30 years ago. And then a picture of Charles Merrill and John Fox, and talking to each other. And they were obviously, had a close relationship. I'm not sure whether Charles Merrill understood, at least at the beginning, that what he was funding was a college with an orientation to the third world, because how did Merrill get its orientation? Here's what happened. The first 3 colleges, Cal focused on humanities, Stevenson on the social sciences, Crown on the natural sciences. Come to college 4, what's left? And he was covered the field, right? And so Dean McHenry had to sort of figure out what was left. And he decided that the orientation should be international studies. And he hired a provost named 2 years ahead of time. In 1966-67, he hired a provost named Paul Seabury, who was a fairly conservative political scientist from UC Berkeley. And Seabury's thing, well, this was the height of the Cold War, right? In the mid-60s. And Seabury's thing was East-West relationships in the Cold War. So that was what the college was going to be. And if that had turned out to be, none of us would be here. But he came from Berkeley to Santa Cruz for a year, 66, 67, and it turns out, to our good fortune, that he hated it. And as far as I can tell, from talking to some of the old timers, which I'm not, feeling was more or less mutual. And so at the end of that period, by mutual agreement, Paul went back to Berkeley and had an eminent career as a political scientist, and Berkeley continued on. But McHenry had this problem. He had to find a provost, and it was only a year ago. Now that may not sound like a big deal now when you can hire a provost a month before their term starts. But remember, in those days, the whole campus was based on colleges. The departments or boards of studies weren't supposed to amount to anything. It was a college-based education. So there he was. Who was he going to find? So he did find a provost named Philip Bell, who had just come back from spending time in Uganda. And Phil said, yes, he would be willing to be provost, but not for an East-West, not for a Cold War college, North-South. Change the axis around 45 degrees and have a North-South college. Well, that was what he called it, North-South. And McHenry said, oh, fine with him. And so Phil went ahead and hired, there were 36 faculty members originally slated for the college. Couldn't hire them all in 1 year. It had to be half in the first year and half in the second year. So Phil hired 18 people. Now we had to do it together with the Board of Studies, except in my case, because I'm an economist, Phil is an economist. The economist said, you just go and hire whoever you want. We can trust you to hire somebody. So he went and tried to hire somebody else, not me. And I was his second choice. I've been very grateful. Michael Tadaro was his name. We turned it down. And I've always had a very warm spot for Michael. He turned it down, and so Phil came to me. But what we were hired into was College 4, not Merrill College. So we were hired in the winter and early spring of 1968. We were hired as College 4. And we had a planning meeting. The faculty came together for the first time. The founding faculty came together for the first time here. Well, here was being built. So next door in Crown in June, just at the end of the spring quarter. And by that time, it was called Merrill College. So sometime at the latter part of the spring of '68, the deal was struck, and Charles Merrill agreed to give the money. How much money? Well, you're going to laugh when I tell you how much money, but a dollar went a lot further in those days. An incredibly generous grant of $650,000. And what did we get for $650,000? I mean, we got a lot in terms of Charles Merrill's goodwill. But what did the money actually buy? It bought the Merrill Library, which eventually became the Third World Teaching Resources Center, and then the Chicano Latino Center. The Charles E. Merrill Lounge, privately funded. The Merrill Provost House. And the visitors' apartments, which unfortunately no longer exist, but the visitors' apartments down on the left-hand side of the parking lot, you may remember those. And that was that was such a good idea, the visitors' apartments, because they belonged not to the state, not to the university. It was privately funded, so we could rent them out, and with the income we got from renting them out, we could provide the maintenance for the other gift-funded buildings for a long time. So that worked out very well. And there was still money left over. All of those 4 buildings for $500,000. So there's $150,000 left over for the endowment. I mean, you could have built one of those buildings today for $500,000, right? But that was how the money went. He had a particular interest in the Provost House. He was involved in the design of the Provost House. He really cared about it. Why did he care about it? Well, he says, look, I know the University of California is a public university. They're never going to pay, they're never going to give incentive to the people to be provost. They're not going to pay them a stipend worth anything. How are you going to get good people? I know how you're going to get good people to be provost. Build them the best house. So if you look at that, if you look at the houses, there are 8 such houses on the UCSC campus, right? 7 colleges, each college through Oaks has got a provost house. Rachel Carson, and then 9 and 10 don't. And the Chancellor's house. So that's 8 houses. And the Merrill Provost House is the best of them all. I mean, by far. The design is wonderful. And there are many things that are wonderful about it. I lived there for 15 years. And there's many things that are wonderful about it, but the most wonderful thing is this. It's in a circle. I mean, many of you know it. You've been there. And so there's a public part. There's an atrium, and there's a public living room, and there's a public dining room. And then there's a private part of the house, a private living room. So in other words, you can have your family, and you can have a mess, and the kids can have toys, and you don't have to clean it up when you have a public event, right? This public event can go on over there, and you can have your family living there. And the result was that all the provosts have been able to be completely generous with the use of that. I mean, not only would we have lots of events at Merrill College, but anybody who wanted to, we want to get married at Merrill College, sure, come, don't bother us. You can, lots of departments and all sorts of people would use that, and yet it was still a very spacious house for the family. So it really served as a community center, as well as sort of for the provost. So the consequence was, with one unfortunate exception, which was me, he was right. We attracted these wonderful seven fellows, including Elizabeth. Well, okay, so the college got started, and so there was this tension within the foundation, right? Do you think maybe we've resolved the tension by ending the fund and giving away the money? No. Why not? Well, totally. This is 1968, right? The revolution is going on. And so the first faculty come, and there were students. Some of the students are here. They actually are the oldest members, because Roberta and Nancy and Mark. So they had been students at different colleges. So they outnumbered us, right? So they were the founding students. So the students come, and the faculty come, and one of the things that happened was that we had decided that it was going to be an international college. It was going to be a north-south focus. And at our planning meeting, we decided that we were going to give that a word, a name. What was the name? The name was Third World. What did Third World mean? It was an obscure term in the spring of 1968, and it was this pun, Jean-Paul Sartre, on the third estate, the third estate of the French Revolution. And so that'll serve well for our theme, Third World. Well, between the spring and the fall was the Democratic National Convention, the explosion of everything, and Third World came to be adopted as a revolutionary term by Black Power and all sorts of revolutionary groups in the United States. Third World meant revolution. So here we come in September. We have Third World College. What does that mean? Does it mean we're a revolution? We had these discussions that were, you wouldn't believe them today, but what was the point of Merrill College? Was it to be a sort of academic, dispassionate study of the relationships between the North and the South? Or was it to be a revolutionary cell? We seriously debated that question, and it didn't seem absurd at all in 1968, or for several years after that. So anyway, the students came, and they immediately wanted to get out and take part in the revolution. So one of the part of the revolution that was going on right here was the farm workers organizing, Cesar Chavez and the United Farm Workers, and the particular part of that was going on right then was the grape boycott. So the grape growers were not recognizing the union, and so the union was calling for this nationwide boycott of grapes. So our students, went into the grape boycott. And our faculty, of course, totally supported the grape boycott. Well, not only that, but the students got academic credit for it.
That was my field study.
That was your field study.
Organized the great boycott.
Yeah, organized a great boycott, get 5 units, get 10 units. Right? And so people did. They went out and they organized. Well, one of the places where we organized the boycott, I say we deliberately, organized the boycott was the Safeway store down So Mr. McGowan, who was one of the principals found one of the posters. And the poster said, it didn't make any pretense about academic study or anything like that. It said, join the great boycott and get 5 units credit. So Mr. McGowan found this poster, right? And so he calls up Dean McHenry, and he's not a happy camper. Granted that he had allowed his cousin to fund this college, but this is too much. They had just funded this college, and the first thing this college does is turn around and boycott his own store. And McHenry agreed. So we got visited by Dean McHenry, who said, you know, I appreciate everything you're doing, it's wonderful, but you can't do this. So we backed off, and I don't think we really changed very much, but we at least created the illusion that what the students were getting credit for was the study of, yeah.
I was here in 1969. I couldn't understand why he kept telling us we should not go stealing stuff from Sable.
Yeah, right. Okay, well, let me end actually by talking about that, about Mr. Merrill came and talked to the stage for about 15 years afterwards. He didn't just give the money and run. He came often. I mean, I don't know how many times, half a dozen times, maybe not every year, but he came often. I became provost in '84, and I don't believe he came while I was provost. I think the visits had stopped by then. They were wonderful. Because he wasn't just a philanthropist, he was an educator. I mean, he was genuinely interested in what we were doing. And he would come and he would talk to people from here, and then we would have meetings down in the provost house in the living room there, and people would come and they would talk to Charles Merrill. And the discussions were two-way. You know, the students were interested in him. They were interested in what he thought about politics. They asked challenging questions about Merrill Lynch, of course. And he had no trouble engaging in those conversations. They were interested in what he thought about education, and he was very stimulating. And then he was interested in them. You know, he would ask questions about what he was studying, and what's important to you, and what do you want to make of your life, and you know, he was genuinely interested in them. And I think that's why he kept coming back. That he just enjoyed those conversations. And I had the same experience that Elizabeth had. That every now and again I would write him, and not really with ulterior motives involved, but I would write him and tell him, you know, this is what's going on, and we get a check for $10,000 back. Put it in. You only got. Well, I'm just making up the 10. I think. Anyway, he was. There's a. He was our benefactor, and he lived a long and good life. He had a. I don't know how to put this. You know, we're divided as to what happens when we die, right? Some half of us think there's some other life afterwards. Half of us don't, and that includes me. But even for the half of us who don't, we live on in terms of our legacy, in terms of our impact on the world, and some of us have an extraordinary impact that lives on after us, and that includes Charles Merrill, not just his impact on his institution, but his impact, especially on his own school, but in other universities around the country, and he really does. It was a great sadness when he died a few months ago, but he was an old man, and we all have to die sometime, and he lives on through his institutional creativity.